Question 20 says, find a basis for subspace of the space spanned by these four vectors. As usual, start by creating the matrix itself. These are the rows of your matrix: 2, 5, -3, -2, -2, -3, 2, and -5, 1, 3, -2, and 2. And then we have -1, -5, 3, and 5. And then we start reducing this matrix. Very good. So here you can divide by 2, or you can switch these two rows, all right? Switch R1 and R3. Very good. So here you have 1, 3, -2, and 2. The second row stays the same, -2, -3, 2, and -5. And this guy now is 2, 5, -3, -2, and the last row stays the same, -5, 3, and 5. So I have a 1 here. I'm going to multiply the first row by 2 and add it to the second row, multiply by -2 and add it to the last row, and multiply and just add the first row and last row together. If I add the first row and last row together, this guy becomes 0. This guy is -2, this guy is 1, and this guy becomes 7. So now let us multiply R1 by 2 and add it to the second row. This guy becomes your new second row. You have 2, you have a 6, -4, and 4 added to -2, -3, 2, and -5, which is 0, 3, -2, and -1. 0, 3, -2, and -1. Now multiply the first row by -2 and add it to the third row. This guy becomes your new third row. So you have a -2, -6, you have a 4, and you have a -4 added to 2, 5, -3, and -2. This is 0, -1, 1, and -6. So this guy is now 0, -1, 1, and -6. Perfect. What you can do here, you can switch these two rows. You can multiply this by negative. So this is a 1, this is a -1, this is a +6, and then switch these two around. So your matrix is 1, 3, -2, 2, and you have 0, 1, -1, and 6, and you have 0, 3, -2, -1, and then 0, -2, 1, and 7. Very good. Now you have a 1. What you can do, you can multiply this row by -3 and add it to the first row, add it to the second row, add it to the third row, and then multiply by 2 and add it to the last row. So -3 R2 plus R1 becomes your new R1. So you have a 0, -3, 3, and -18 added to 1, 3, -2, and 2, which is 1, 0, 1, and -16. 0, 1, -16. -3 times R2 plus R3 is your new R3. So you have a 0, -3, 3, -18 added to 0, 3, -2, and -0, 0, 1, and -19. Very good. And finally, multiply the second row by 2 and add it to the last row, becomes R4. So I have a 0, I have a 2, I have a -2, and I have a 12 added to 0, -2, 1, and 7. Nice. I get 0, 0, -1, and 19. Basically, if I add these two rows together, I create a 0 row. and I have a 1 here. If I add these two rows together, this becomes 0, and this becomes negative 13. Perfect. And if I multiply this guy by negative 1 and add it to the first row, this guy becomes 0, and this guy becomes 3. Very good. So we are done. We have 3 non-zero vectors. It means that the rank is equal to 3, and the vectors that span the subspace are these vectors: 1, 0, 0, 3, 0, 1, 0, negative 13, and finally 0, 0, 1, and negative 19.